Okay, so for the chapter 16 to 18 quiz, so this video we talk about the structured question. And first of all, I think most of you do cannot get what the question want to ask you about. So in this case, I will go through most of the question with all of you. So first of all, we can see that, okay, the first question, it asks you what types of neuron, okay, exists. So in this case, we can see that there is the ending of the neuron X. In that, it is connected with the muscle fiber. So in this case, we can notice that the neuron X, in fact, is a type of motor neuron. Why? Because, in fact, the muscle fiber is our effector. So the effector, you can think it like some muscle or some different kinds of uh, organ, etc. So these would be some uh, example of effector. And as it connected to the effector, so it would be the motor neuron rather than the other neuron. So by looking at the answer, you will notice that in fact, uh, one mark was given to the motor neuron. We need to state what type of neuron it is. And on the other hand, we also need to mention about because it is connected to the muscle fiber. Next, it asks you about the one observable features of a neuron X in the photomicrograph. So by looking at photomicrograph 1 here, so one of the observable feature is that there is numerous vesicle. As looking at the diagram looking at the photomicrograph, one, in fact, we could not see any receptor on the membrane. So therefore, if you mention about the receptor, sorry, no mark will be given. But then if you mention about vesicle, remember you need to tell other that, oh, there will be numerous vesicles. And then, okay, after we notice that one observable features would be the numerous vesicle, then we will explain how it is related to the functioning of the neuromuscular junction. So where is the neuromuscular junctions? In fact, okay, we can see here, okay? So the vesicle, in fact, is within the ending of the neuron X towards to the part of the muscle fiber. So in this case, in fact, what happened? The vesicle will diffuse from the ending towards to the muscle fiber. So in this case, we can see that as, okay, it contains numerous vesicle in the end of neuron X. So therefore, the vesicle containing the neurotransmitter will diffuse across the cliffs, okay, or diffuse across the neuromuscular junction. So in the second mark of question B, it would be the uh, diffuse. Okay, you need to mention about that it is diffuse across the junctions. Next, then we will see that there is a type of food poisoning caused by the injection of a toxin produced by a certain bacterium. We call it the botulism, which is a form of food poisoning. And this toxin will act as a blocking of the function of the presynaptic membrane, resulting with certain problem. So therefore, based on this information and also photomicrograph, so this time, rather than looking at photomicrograph 1, we need to look at photomicrograph 2. By looking at the photomicrograph, this time no longer ask you about the ending of the neuron X, but this time we are talking about the membrane. So when we talk about the membrane, in fact, we will talk about the receptor. Good, okay. So as we talk about the receptor, then in this case, we need to think about it. Now, here, because the toxin will act as a blockage of the functioning of the presynaptic membrane. However, the presynaptic membrane, they do not have the receptor, okay? Where will be the receptor located? The receptor, in fact, it will located in the membrane of muscle fiber, okay? The receptor locate in the membrane of muscle fiber. So therefore, first of all, now when we notice that there is a blockage, so originally the presynaptic membrane, it can release the vesicle can diffuse, sorry, not diffuse, but release, okay, the neurotransmitter to the cleft. However, as there is some blockage, can the vesicle release the neurotransmitter? So it definitely would be no. So therefore, the first mark will indicate that as the blockage, the toxin blockage will lead to what happened? The not release, the stop, okay, or the barrier that's stopping the neurotransmitter release to the cliffs. So as okay, it could not release from the vesicle. Okay, the vesicle cannot release from the pre okay the presynaptic membrane. Sorry, neurotransmitter. Okay, to the cliffs. Then, as we do not have the any neurotransmitter here, no any neurotransmitter. Then, in this case, what happened? As they do not have any neurotransmitter, can the receptor of the on the membrane of the muscle fiber receive the neurotransmitter? Definitely, it cannot receive the neurotransmitter. As it cannot receive the neurotransmitter, then in this case, what happened? Then there would not be any nerve impulse occur. So by have a look on the answer, then you can see that, okay, the toxin block the release. But many of you will write down, oh, it will block the receptor, okay? But remember, it's too fast. We should mention one step further would be it should be block the release of the neurotransmitter first. And then as there is no any neurotransmitter to stimulate the receptor on the membrane of the muscle fiber, then in this case, the membrane of the muscle fiber will not generate the nerve impulse. So last mark would be the muscle will not do the contraction. Remember, how can the muscle to do the contraction? It need to receive the nerve impulse. It need to receive the electrical impulse. So therefore, in this case, contraction need nerve impulse. But relaxation, do we need nerve impulse? No need, okay? Originally, it will be relaxed. Only once it receives the nerve impulse, it will do the contraction. So therefore, okay, rather than the muscle will not do the relaxation, you need to mention the muscle will not do the contraction. Is that okay for that? Next, okay. Now, in here, the second question, it asks you about the degree of movement. So what means degree of movement? Remember, degree of movement does not referring to the degree, okay? The degree, the like for example, like the 90 degree or 45 degree. No, The degree of movement does not referring to the real degree. The degree of movement, we are just referring that whether it is in one plane or in many plane. It can move in one plane or many plane. Okay. So joint X, we can see that, okay, by moving your hands, okay, so you will notice that it can only move in one plane only, okay? And the joint that was similar as the finger joint, it would be the elbow joint or the knee joint, okay? These two type of joint. Next, okay, now we have something problems, okay? We have some problems, some bone problems, okay? This time, okay, we can see for the healthy joint, it should be have some cartilage. However, with that disease occur, now the joint will no longer have the cartilage, and these will affect the joint become less flexible. Why? Because okay, uh, originally the cartilage is help us to reduce the friction, but now we do not have the cartilage. The cartilage is absent because by looking at it, the um, the blue or the white part, okay, uh, at the end of the bones, in fact, is already gone. Okay, so in this case, okay, we will say there is a absence of cartilage. Is okay? So therefore, okay, we can say that okay the cartilage is absent or disappear or it wears away, okay, so it fails to reduce the frictions during the movement. But okay, many of you could not mention how this lead to the inflexibility because the end surface will rub against with each other. Then as it rub against with each other, is it easier for you to move? No, it is difficult for you to move when bones rub and rub each other, then in this case, it will cause, okay, a many frictions. And these friction will lead to the bones difficult to move. So therefore, okay, we need to mention about rub against with each other to showcase, okay, what would be happen afterward. Is that okay for that? Next, okay, we can see that, okay, the organ M, okay, for question number 3, okay, we can see that for the normal level, it will be 80 to 100 mg, okay, and mainly, okay, by a two types of organ M and also organ N. So the figure below shows two organs, how they coordinate to lower and elevated blood glucose level. So by looking at it, we can see that the organ M, in fact, it is stimulate. Once there is an increase in the blood glucose level, then what happened? It will stimulate organ M to secrete more hormones, okay? Hormone H. Then can you tell me what type of hormone H it is? Sorry, what type of hormone it is for the hormone H? So it must be the insulin because we need to suppress, okay, the blood level. So blood glucose level. So therefore, okay, the organ M that secrete insulin would be definitely, it would be the pancreas. Okay. Next, okay, describe how the process in organ M that is promoted by the hormone H. So, organ N, in fact, it would be do some processing. So, which organ will do some processing? Definitely, after it receives the insulin, then the organ N will do some processing, and that organ must be liver. Okay, so this one would be the pancreas. So in this case, liver will do something. What will it do? Okay, it will convert the blood glucose, the glucose inside the blood into the glycogen. Okay, remember. So in this case, okay, by looking at the answer, we can see that, okay, there would be some conversion of glucose to the glycogen. Next, okay, now we have another process that promoted by hormone H to lower the blood glucose level during this moment. So that means it's already outside the liver. So where will be the excess blood glucose go? Definitely, it goes to different body cells or muscle or muscle cell. Then in this case, the body cells or muscle cells will be do something. They will uptake more blood glucose, right? So in this case, okay, by looking at the answer, many of you forgot to write down, okay, they need to uptake more blood glucose, okay, because the insulin, in fact, it is promotes them the uptake or the quicker uptake of the glucose by our body cells or muscle cells. So you need to mention that, or there would be an uptake of more blood glucose. Okay. Then what will be the functions or what will be the purpose for us to uptake more blood glucose? And definitely for the respiration. So because we need to have more energy. So normally after we eat something, okay, after we eat maybe a chocolate, after we eat different kinds of a high calorie food, then in this case we will increase our body temperature. This is because we have more energy. Okay. Next, explain why type 2 diabetics, okay, have an above normal blood glucose level. So in this case, remember, type 1, we are producing insufficient insulin. But then type 2, okay, we are not producing insufficient insulin. Rather, we will have something, we will have another problem is that it would be very insensitive for our organ to respond to hormone H. Okay, we fail to respond to the hormone H. So in this case, we cannot bring a rise the blood glucose level back to normal. So many of you just mentioned about, oh, we cannot lower the blood glucose level. Not lower is we cannot bring a rise the blood glucose level back to normal quickly. So in this case, this would be the difference between the insulin and type 1 and also type 2. Because type 1, we are producing insufficient insulin. Then in this case, we need a very long time, okay, to uh, in order for us to lower the blood glucose level. However, this time we are insensitive. So no matter how high, okay, or we need to have a higher insulin level in order for our organ to do the response to bring a rise the blood glucose level back to normal. Okay. Then next, okay, many of you already forgot. In fact, this question I have already worked with you, okay, in the lessons. Remember that, okay, why it would be easy for us to uh, feel dizzy, okay, because if we inject, okay, the insulin before the meal, okay, we will, in fact, you will notice that, okay, our after the injection of the blood insulin, in fact, our blood glucose level will lower than the normal. As the blood glucose level lower than the normal, what happened? Then we will have insufficient of blood glucose to provide sufficient energy for the proper functioning of our brain cells. Remember, last time I've mentioned a lot of time, brain cells, but not the brain. Okay, so therefore, in this case, you need to also mention about the brain cells. Okay, and many of you will write down lower the blood glucose level. but lower the blood glucose level, even though we have the normal insulin, okay, they will also lower the blood glucose level. But this time we are lower than normal, okay, the normal cases. So therefore, okay, we will have such problem. We will feel dizziness. Then, okay, we will have several comparison. Now, by looking at group 1 and also group 2, both of them, they are able to produce blood insulin H. However, group 1, they do not include a certain substance, E, okay, in their food. But then, okay, red group 2, they include the E, okay, in their substance E in their food. So in this case, we can see the increase in the blood glucose level, in fact, is a lot less, okay, or there would be less fluctuation. So therefore, it is important for us to write down, okay, the E will lower the blood glucose level. At the same time, what happened? Both of them are able to produce the blood insulin. That is the very important things because we are also comparing to those groups that are unable to produce blood insulin. Next, okay, 2 or 3, okay, why it would be no conclusion can be made? Because look at it, we have two independent variable. So what means two independent variable? Meaning that both these two groups, one group is able to produce blood insulin, and another group it is unable to produce the blood insulin. The second group, it will be they also add the substance E, but for group 3, they do not add the substance E. So therefore, there would be two parameters that we are comparing at the same time. So in this case, two independent variable comparing at the same time. Sorry, no valid conclusion can be made. Remember, you need to write down no valid conclusion. Why it is important for us to write down valid? Because there is conclusion, but the conclusion we cannot be take it as reference because it's not valid. So therefore, you need to write down, develop a habit to write down no valid conclusion. Okay. Next, okay, we move on to the group 3 and 4. This time, both of them are unable to regulate or to produce the blood insulin H, okay? Then in this case, they uh no matter, okay, no matter we place the substance E or not, there is the same change, okay, same change in the blood glucose level. So therefore, similar change that I have to say. So therefore, okay, we will write down, okay, E is unable to regulate the blood glucose level in rats, which are unable to produce the blood insulin. Next. Then, okay, plant extract E, in fact, is thought to be a potential drug for the diabetic management. So based on this experiment, put a tick to an appropriate boxes. So now, type 1, still remember what is the problems for the blood insulin. It produces insufficient. As it produces insufficient blood insulin. So in this case, which group it looked like? In fact, it looked like group 3 and 4. So therefore, in fact, it looked like group 3 and 4. Because both of them, they cannot produce, okay, sufficient amount of insulin, okay? But then, okay, next, group 1 and 2, okay? So this time, for type 2 diabetes, it is insensitive. So insensitive meaning that do they have blood insulin? Yes, they have blood insulin. So that means it will be similar to our group 1 and 2. So therefore, we will notice that if we look at group 1 to 2, in fact, okay, the substance E, it is better or it can help us to increase the sensitivity. So therefore, you will see the answer here. So E, it will be useful for type 2 diabetes only because it only helped, the substance E only help with those patient or those rats that can produce the insulin. But then, okay, why this can help, okay, or why this can reduce the fluctuation, why this can lower the blood glucose level? This is because it might be increase or enhancing the sensitivity of the red receptor, body cells, target organ, etc., to our insulin. So therefore, okay, the E can achieve or is useful to type 2 diabetes. So I just quickly go through all the answer related to the structure questions. If you have any questions related to the MC, feel free to let me know. So good luck for your upcoming requests.